Graphs of the velocity functions of two particles are shown, where t is measured in seconds. When is each particle speeding up, and when is it slowing down, and then explain. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what it means by speeding up. So we know that whenever it is speeding up, is when the velocity function and the acceleration function have the same sign. Okay, and then we know it'll be slowing down whenever the velocity function and the acceleration function have different signs. Okay, so if we take a look here in the first graph, we go from 0 to 1, and then from 2, and then to 3. So if we look at the interval, we have the intervals. So we have an interval that goes from 0 to 1. And then we have another interval that goes from 1 to 2. Then we have another interval that goes from 2 to 3. Okay, so we want to look at the velocity function. Okay, so what does it tell us about the velocity function? Okay, well, if you notice here, in between 0 and 1, this part here is above the x-axis. So therefore, we know it is positive in that interval from 0 to 1. Okay, in the interval from 1 to 2, we can see that the function is still above the x-axis, so therefore it's still positive for the velocity function. And then for the interval between 2 and 3, we can see it's below the x-axis, so therefore it is negative there. Okay, now the acceleration function is determined by whether the velocity function is increasing or decreasing. Okay, so if we take a look at the velocity function from 0 to 1, we can see that it's increasing from 0 to 1. So if it's increasing, that means it is positive in the acceleration. Now, if we look at the interval from 1 to 2, we can see that that part is starting to decrease. So since it's decreasing, then the acceleration is going to be negative. And then from the interval between 2 and 3, we can also see that it's decreasing again, so therefore it is negative. Okay, so we want to determine, okay, what intervals is it speeding up? And for what intervals will it be slowing down? So in order to figure that out, well, it's speeding up when the velocity and the acceleration have the same signs. So here we can see that the same signs are in the interval of 0 and 1. So we know that it's speeding up from 0 to 1. And they also have the same sign into the interval from 2 to 3. So therefore it's also speeding up in the interval from 2 to 3. Okay, and then we know where is it slowing down. Well, they have different signs here. We have a positive and a negative sign. So therefore, it is slowing down between 1 and then 2. So now, let's take a look at the second graph here. Okay, so again, we know that it is going to speed up, right, when the velocity and the acceleration have the same sign, and slowing down when the velocity and acceleration have different signs. So let's just go ahead and number our number line here. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, so we have an interval that's going between 0 and then 1. We have another interval going from 1 and then to 2. And then another interval from 2 to 3, and then another interval from 3 to 4. Okay, so we're looking at the velocity function first. Okay, so if we take a look at the velocity function between 0, 1, 1, 2, and 2, 3, this is all above the x-axis. So those three intervals, it's going to be positive for the velocity function. So it's positive here, and then positive there. And then in the interval from 3 to 4, it's below the x-axis, so therefore it is negative for the velocity function. Now for the acceleration function, it depends on whether it is increasing or decreasing of the velocity function. Well, if we look at the interval between 0 and 1, we can see that it's decreasing. Since it's decreasing, that means that the acceleration function is going to be negative. For the interval between 1 and 2, we can see it's starting to increase, so therefore it is positive there. And then from the interval between 2 and 3, it's decreasing, so therefore it is negative. And then from the interval between 3 and 4, it is also negative. So now we want to determine where it is speeding up, and then where is it slowing down. Okay, so again, it's going to speed up when we have the same signs. So we have the same signs in the interval from 1 to 2, and the same signs in the interval from 3 to 4. And then we can see that there's different signs in the interval from 0 to 1. And then there's different signs in the interval from 2 to 3.